Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Jason's Take On podcast with myself, Jason Noble, here in London, and my partner in crime, Mr. Whitehead. Say hello, Jace.
Hello, Jace. How are you?
Jace, I'm very good. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you. Great to be here.
We've got absolutely and another exciting guest episode. We've done a lot of guest episodes. I think we need to do one of our just ourselves, Jason, in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, why not?
super excited on this one. We've got the one and only Jared Orr joining us for this podcast. Jared's going to give us a kind of a bit more insight into his journey into the world of customer success. He's very well known in the community in customer success. He's a big contributor to a number of the communities out there like CS Insider, Practical CSM, and your very own Success Chain Jace. He does his own podcast, the Customer Success Whisperer, and his own blog as well. And he's really come in, I think, taking it by full storm. And it's great to see someone who's still relatively new in the industry come in with a great background, but really dive full into this. So welcome, Jared.
Thank you, Jason. And Jason, it's great to be here.
Give us, before we kick off, Jared, do you want to give the kind of listeners an intro into yourself, your background and where you've come from and the things you're doing, and then we'll kick off into a chat with you.
Yeah, definitely. I have been in customer success for 3 years as of this month. So as you said, I'm relatively new to the industry. Thank you. No, it's great. I love customer success. I'm never looking back. It's the perfect career path for me. Like I said, been in it for 3 years. I was at a social media marketing company. That was my first customer success job. I was there for just over a year, and it really threw me into the fire. If anyone wants to get into customer success, I say get into a social media marketing company because you will learn a ton, and it's challenging, but I learned a lot, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. Now I work for a global software company that creates virtual data rooms. I've been with it for almost 2 years now. And it's a great company. It's a global company. I'm one of 6 employees here in the United States. So I'm on my own in my own little silo here, but it's a good opportunity. I've been remote and using Zoom since before COVID. So nothing really changed for me when it all hit. And like you said, I have my podcast. I have a blog site for customer success, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But yeah, it's great to be here.
I love you. You come across as such a passionate, excited person. It's like we're both the same. This is something I think we're all privileged that we're part of, and it just really comes across. I think you've had such an amazing and very fast and accelerated journey into customer success, and you've really jumped full hands into it, which is awesome to see. Talk to us a bit about kind of your motivations. What were the motivations for moving into customer success? And then some of the big challenges that you've seen along the way, because I bet there've been a few.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So when I was in undergrad school, I worked for a human resources company, and I did a lot of different things. I was in customer service. I was in sales operations at one point, implementation, onboarding. So I actually did a lot of work with the sales and the onboarding team. So I got my feet in both corners, figuring things out. And then when I graduated at the end of 2017, I decided that I wanted to get into sales, give it a try, because I knew it would be challenging for me. So I was like, okay, help me break out of my comfort zone a little bit, make some connections, maybe something will come out of it, who knows? And I got a job at this company that I was pretty familiar with. I was pretty excited. And it didn't take me long to realize that the sales gig was really just a telemarketing job. And it was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. It was a horrible experience, just to say the least. And I was there for just 6 months. But I'm grateful for that experience because it taught me that I want to be more on the client-facing side. And because it was such a horrible experience, it pushed me into really looking for a new job really quickly. And that's how I got my first job in customer success. When I first started looking for a job, I had no idea what customer success was. Yeah. I just did a lot of research on client-facing roles and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Found out what customer success was, and I was like, all right, that's what I want to do. But people say, oh, so how'd you first get into it? I say it was luck. Like I was able to find a customer success job at this social media marketing company that I mentioned, and it was just a few blocks up the street from where I was working. That's like great. It just worked out extremely well. And like I said, I've been there for 3 years now. It's been great. I would say maybe some of the challenges that I faced along the way is maybe you've seen this already, but I'm a fast talker. And when someone asks me a question and I know the answer to it, I'm like, okay, here's the answer, blah, 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 here's the solution. And I've had to have managers or supervisors or other coworkers tell me, okay, Jared, you need to stop to slow down a little bit and listen to your clients. And being able to figure out those things about me that I need to work on to be a better CSM has really helped me in a lot of ways over the past couple of years. And it's really helped me grow in my career more than I think I ever could have had I not been in customer success. So it's been great.
Wow. That's fantastic. I love what you were saying about having to slow down and talking as well too, because one of the things I learned early in my career and still struggle with at times is I love the big picture view of things and tell me all the different things that are going to come into play over the next 3 years and let me get excited about all of that stuff and just live with it. And so many people get shut down by that. I'm overwhelmed. Stop, just bite-sized chunks, spoon feed it to me kind of thing. And just trying to figure out, all right, where am I in my comfort zone and where am I blowing away my customers and how do I need to adjust to reach them? I think it's great that you learned that so early, because I think a lot of people still don't figure that out. That's really key.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jared, I'm curious too, like we've mentioned, you've got a podcast now and a blog writer, and you're just killing it out there. You're doing such great things. What inspired you to start these, and how did you go about doing it? How have you been building your audience?
So I started my blog at the end of 2020, I think in like November. I started a little before then, but I went live with it in November. And it's really the blog is really a place for me to share my ideas on customer success. A lot of my posts are geared towards like startups and like how to really implement customer success as quickly as possible. So every time I think of a subject, I always do research on it. I listen to podcasts on it, read articles, and then I put all of that into a blog post.
Great.
So that's my blog. And then regarding my podcast, I started that, I believe it was February of this year. The first thing I thought of was like, oh, it'll just be a customer success related podcast, super easy, because I already got a network in there. But then I was like, I want to expand that a little bit more, because if it's like my books here, like I have a lot of customer success books, but I have like other books like that are not pertaining directly to customer success. So my podcast, I talk to mainly entrepreneurs. People that are doing very well in their careers or starting their own businesses, doing a lot of great things. A lot of people that I've talked to so far have been in customer success because of my network.
Sure.
But really my podcast is called the Founders and Mentors Podcast. It's for people who are aspiring entrepreneurs or want to be future CEOs. They can listen to it, get inspired, and hopefully get some good takeaways from it. And I've interviewed a couple people that you guys have talked to as well. I've talked to Paul Henderson, Kelly Lucas, Sue Moore. So I've had some incredible conversations with some really phenomenal individuals, which has been great.
Yeah, they're all great. I could listen to all three of them a lot. Well, I listen to Sue and Kelly a lot, just because I work with them.
Kelly's great.
What made you on your podcast, Jared? You rebranded it recently, didn't you? Shifted it. What made you do that? Because it was a very interesting shift, and I think you brought that.
Yeah.
There are a number of just customer success podcasts. It's something that Jason and I try and do. We don't want it just to be about customer success. But I love the way it's now founders and mentors. It's a really different shift. What kind of made you do that?
Yeah, so it went from the eclectic podcast to the Founders and Mentors podcast. So I'm really an eclectic when it comes to my hobbies and interests and things like that. Excuse me. Like I said, like my books here, like I have customer success, business, finance, ultra running books, finance books, history books. Like it's crazy. So I'm like, I just want to talk to a ton of different people with different ideas about a ton of different things. And then a couple months into it, I realized I really would like to monetize this at some point. And I got some advice from people and they told me, look, if you want to monetize it, you got to make it more niche. Because literally my tagline was, it's a podcast for everyone. And if it's for everyone, then who is it really for? You know what I mean? So I made it more niche for people like myself who are aspiring entrepreneurs and want to either run their own business or run a company someday. And I gear I still talk to a variety of people, but I gear all of my conversations towards what are you doing to make your dreams a reality? What are you doing to run your own company? Or what have you done in your career that's gotten you to this point? Things like that. And it's been a good shift so far.
That's great. So what's been some of the best career nuggets you've picked up from all the people you've spoken to?
Honestly, like it's crazy. If you look at people that have done that have done so much in their career, that have written successful books or are leading very successful companies as executives or as CEOs, as someone like me, I can look to them and be like, oh my gosh, they're such an incredible person. And they are, but they're also just a normal human being. Like I'm talking to them and it's like I'm just talking to like a next door neighbor of mine. You know, like, oh, how's your day been? This and that. These are normal people and they're willing to talk to you. They're willing to share their advice. And I learned that a little while ago. And I've had a lot of these conversations over the last couple of years. Then I realized I just want to make a podcast out of this. I really should, because I'm having so many of these conversations. And when it comes to successful people, we often get caught up in the Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey's, Elon Musk's of the world. But in reality, people that we brush shoulders with on a daily basis are living very successful lives. Either it could be they're a successful athlete or a coach or an author, or they're running a company that you may not know about, but it's a really successful company. And these people are willing to share their advice with you, but we're always so, oh, I want to hear what Gary Vaynerchuk has to say. I want to hear what, Oprah is saying about this and that. But really, it's like, just talk to the people in your inner circle and you'll be inspired.
Absolutely. Oh, you're on mute, Jason.
I am indeed. I always talk to myself there again. Jared, I love that. And I think you get some incredible stories. And like you say, at the end of the day, we're all humans and you can connect on that level. It's just incredible to do that.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Absolutely. So what do you see, since you're having such success with the work that you're doing, both your job and your podcast and everything else, what's next for you? What's the future look like for you?
That's a great question. As far as my personal future, Jason and I were talking about this earlier before you got on, Jason, but my wife and I were expecting our first child later this year.
Congratulations.
So I'm going to be a father. So that's big. That's a big future shift for me.
You've got big ambitions for your child to be as well, don't you?
I was just saying, I want her to be a future chief customer officer, but she can do whatever she wants. But I just saying it'd be cool if she did that someday. But as far as for me, like professionally, I would love, like I love where I'm working right now, but how cool would it be to work for Gainsight or Salesforce or some big company? I know, like at the end of the day, like it's just a company, it's just work, but like working for a company like that with such a great reputation and led by just incredible leadership, not that my leadership isn't great, but led by Mark Benioff or Nick Mehta, like how cool would that be? So that's something I would love to do. Personally, I would love to I guess I kind of really have two goals. One is to be a chief customer officer, and the other is to run my own business someday, be an internet entrepreneur or create a software product, whatever it is. I'd love to go down the path of entrepreneurship. And I would love to also be a chief customer officer someday. Whether both of those happen, great. Whether they happen at different times or one happens and the other doesn't, it's fine. But that's really what I would love.
You're really passionate, as you said before, about kind of everything customer related. Where do you think that came from? What's sparked that passion and how do you keep it there?
My parents, it really starts with how I was raised. My parents are probably two of the most service-minded people I've ever met. They're constantly putting others before themselves. And just to give you like a quick example, every time when I was growing up, every time we'd make like brownies or cookies or some baked good, my mom would always say, hey, let's take a couple to like the neighbors. And I'd hate that. I'd be like, no, I want them all to myself. Why would we share these with people? That's stupid. So just small examples like that throughout my life taught me the value of service. And I've taken that into my career because customer success really is all about having a service mentality for your customers, making their lives easier. And I feel a life worth living, a fulfilling life is a life of service. And so I think that's what kind of drives me throughout my career is like, I'm here to really help you, my customers. I'm here to make your lives easier. I'm your guy. I have your back. And that is what makes my career fulfilling because it's a service mentality type career. And it also is something I just love to do. I love software. I love learning new platforms. So just like working in software is super fun for me. And then being on the client facing side makes it all the better.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that is so wonderful. And I also love what you were saying too about working for a large company one day or a small company. It's nice to get that variety in there, but I think you're right, that underpinning of service is really key. So let me ask you, you've been around the CS community quite a bit, as you said, and networked through. What do you think are the traits that make someone a great CSM? And what do you think are the traits that you can spot in someone like, ooh, I think you're going to struggle in this field because of X, Y, and Z?
You really have to be a people person to be in customer success. You got my wife, love her. She hates talking on the phone. She hates it. So I'm like, yeah, you wouldn't do very well with what I do. But that's okay. She's a high school math teacher. So she's got her strengths. I've got mine. So it's totally fine. But I actually wrote an article about this on my blog. It really, in my opinion, to be a great customer success manager, it really comes down to three traits. And that is to be empathetic, to be proactive, and to be an outrageously great communicator. Everything else can be taught, everything else can come into place, but if you don't have those three figured out already, then you're probably going to struggle when you first start out. You can still become great at those three things, but you will struggle if you're struggling with those three things when you start out in customer success. That's what I've seen. Great customer success managers are empathetic towards their customers. They're very proactive when it comes to managing their book of business because we got a lot on our plates, a lot of moving pieces in customer success, so you got to be able to do your best to stay ahead of those things. Sometimes it's hard to do that, but we just got to do our best. And then be an outrageously great communicator. You're on the phone, you're on Zoom, you're in in-person meetings. Now that things are opening up, you got to be able to communicate clearly and authentically to your clients to build that relationship with them and build that trust.
I love the way that you've described that and those kind of three key traits. But there are so many more, but that kind of really is all the key essence. You've done in kind of your journey into customer success. You've actually done a number of training courses and certifications for CS as well. What do you think about them? Have they helped you? What advice would you give to anyone starting or looking at training and certifications?
Yeah, I think certifications are great, really, for just the opportunity to learn, because like these training programs, there's a couple like Practical CSM, a Success Hacker, a Success Chain. I think, Jason, you guys have a certification. Yeah. So these training programs, these certification programs are great to learn really from the experts, because these are people that have done very well in their careers or well seasoned in their careers. So they create these programs that they feel are best for people starting out or wherever they are in their careers in customer success. I don't know like how vital is as far as getting hired. I haven't heard many hiring managers, at least with customer success, that look at certifications as far as like a qualification to get hired. But that's just from what I've heard. Maybe you two disagree, I don't know. But it is a great opportunity to learn from some of the best in the field.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there as well. And I think there aren't many organizations looking at them. But one of the reasons I think is because it's still quite new.
It is.
If you look 5 years down the line, and probably that kind of time frame, it'll be something like service management or project management, where there will be some well-known certifications, and the ones we're seeing out there right now, they'll be the ones that people do. But I think you do. My other half's just landed her first job as a customer success manager starting next week.
Oh, nice.
He'd done some of the training, and actually as part of the interview process, the guys there said, "Oh, we didn't know there was any training courses." So I think the momentum's starting to build, though, and I think we will see that shift over the coming years.
And I think in the short term, too, for folks who are trying to break into the field or early in their career, having a certification or having a training there, if nothing else, it shows that you've learned a little bit about what this is about, so you're not going to be completely overwhelmed when you get in the door to it.
Not as overwhelmed.
Not as overwhelmed, yeah. You very well might be, but you'll at least have a sense of what this is. Because Jared, come back to what you said at the start. The first sales job you had 6 months later, oh, this is telemarketing. This is not where I want to take my career. I can see without having some exposure to a certification or training, you might be in that same situation, which is it's all part of growing your career, is to figure out what works and what doesn't. But I think it's a great way to start.
On the sales job, when you look at that telemarketing role, was you thinking you wanted to do sales to start with, and then did it, or was it just completely the wrong role? If that had been the right role, do you think you'd have stayed in sales?
Yeah, if it had been a better sale, like non-telemarketing, I was okay making cold calls. I was okay with that. But if anyone's done telemarketing, it's really just making cold calls from the start to the finish, reading the same script. It's just calling the same people. It was horrible. But yeah, if it had been a better sales process, if I'd had like better management that really taken the time to train me, and if I would have been able to do more things than just cold calling, actually building up a book of business, and there had been like more opportunities for me to grow in like my sales career than just like an SDR role, then yeah, there could have been a chance that I had stayed there longer and maybe found success in sales. Who knows? But like I said, I'm grateful that it was such a horrible opportunity, because it got me to where I am today. Yeah. So that's my thoughts on that.
We wouldn't be having this conversation if you hadn't.
Exactly.
It's bizarre how there are points in your career that perhaps they weren't what you thought was going to happen, but you've ended up in a better place from it.
Yep. I'll tell you this. I was so desperate. I just told my wife about this the other day. Like, she didn't know about the extent of this until recently. I was so desperate to get out of there. I was literally applying to almost anything at one point before I discovered customer success. I actually applied for a local plumbing company. I was like, I can learn how to be a plumber. Just get me out of here. I'm so desperate. And luckily, like, I'm a religious guy. Like, I believe like it was some divine intervention that like pushed me towards customer success, because again, I just feel so blessed to be where I am. But I just remember thinking that, oh man, what a time, man.
you may have, I'm sure, just as successful as a plumber. It's one job where there's a growing demand for that.
That's true. There is. Yeah, I can start like a plumbing podcast and things like that. Okay, I'll let someone else do that.
They probably exist. You never know.
They probably do. Yeah, they probably do.
Wow. No, I remember back my first job out of college as well too. It was a hideous job working for the government, and I knew within 3 months, like, this is not going to be a take. So I was either going to look for another job or go to graduate school. So I ended up going back to school right away. Like, this is not a fit. And I think that's so important to experiment around and see where you want to be. But it's nice that you found the customer success role, and I hope a lot of other folks do. And I think some good stuff coming into that.
Yeah, I've had a number of friends reach out to me like, "Hey, man, I'm looking to get into customer success. What any advice?" And I had one friend that actually I think he just got his first job there, so I'm really excited for him. But I've had a few people reach out, and even people that are like, "Hey, my company is currently implementing a customer success strategy. What advice would you have?" So I just give them some tidbits, things that I've learned. So it's been good to see that. It's been good to see like my brand reaching other people that don't really have anything to do with it, and I can offer just my expertise, air quotes there, and just give them some advice.
I'm curious, Jared, having taken the trainings and done everything that you've done, how would you say you're different as a CSM now than when you first started 3 years ago? What's changed over the course of all this, and how would you show up differently with customers?
Like I mentioned earlier, I've learned how to just slow down and really hear my customers out. Or I also don't get too defensive when customers, really start attacking either the company or the product or me. It's so easy to get so defensive on those things, and I've learned to just hold back and just really do my best to hear the customers out when they're complaining or having difficulties and things like that. So I think that's been the biggest way I've changed. I've also just been able to plan a lot better. I've learned how to identify pain points before they really become pain points. I've learned how to prepare myself for things like QBRs or renewal calls, things like that. I've just things to prepare for because of mistakes that I've made in the past. Like, okay, I don't want to make that mistake again, so I'll do it differently now. I still got a long ways to go for sure, but I've definitely improved in the areas of communicating when things are difficult and preparing for renewals or QBRs or difficult conversations.
That's fantastic. And I think what I love listening to you is the confidence and the comfort that comes over. Because I think that's one of the things that we hear all the time is, we want our CSMs to be proactive and to be confident with customers and do all these things. And when I've gone into deliver some trainings to folks who are very early in their career or new to the role, they really do struggle. And just hear you go from early in the career to where you are right now, it's really great to see that coming across and to hear it. It's very encouraging, and I encourage others to take some energy from this.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Jared, the last kind of 15 months clearly been a big challenge for a lot of businesses, a lot of individuals. Global pandemics, no one's lived in a situation like this before, and it's put a massive change in businesses. And I think it's put a focus back on the customer. What do you see as some of the big changes and shifts that you've seen happen and that you would like to see happen for the rest of the year?
When I was looking for my first job in customer success in 2018, it's exploded since then as far as like open positions for customer success managers. And not just like CSMs, but like VPs of customer success, chief customer officers, directors of customer success. So that to me shows that like more and more businesses are seeing the value in retention. Not that they really didn't see the value before, but now they see, okay, we need to have a strategy, a process, a team in place to really head this initiative. Because with so many people dropping their vendors due to the pandemic, they need people there on the front lines to prove the value on a consistent basis so that when things like this do happen, a recession or God forbid another pandemic, that these people already know the value they're getting from this company because of their customer success manager. And so hopefully they don't churn. So that's a big change that I've seen. I just saw a much bigger value in customer success in the last 15 months. And another thing is communities, online communities. There's been quite a few that have uprooted since the pandemic, many of which pertaining to customer success, because it's good to have a community of like-minded individuals who you can learn from, who you can lean on for support, things like that. It's so good to have that support system of other like-minded individuals. And I think the community, the customer success community, is just incredible. So like I said, when I started in 2018, like I would post stuff about customer success or software and get minimal engagement. But then in 2020, I started posting even more. And now I've developed this incredible network of people who I'm commenting on their post, they're commenting on mine, we're getting all this engagement. And it's just great to see the community, how it's just completely exploded, for lack of a better term, in the last year.
It is, I think it is. You're so right. And that is something that has absolutely grown. It's grown to a point where it's one of the selling points almost about customer success is there's just such an awesome, like-minded group of individuals that are willing to help each other. And we're here. I love your idea about it being a service mentality, but I think one thing I say is our roles are about someone else's success. And it's not just our customers. It can be friends, it can be colleagues, it can be the community. And it's a really privileged position to be in. Look, Jared, this has been an absolutely incredible passionate and really just positive podcast. So a huge thank you for joining us. What we always like to finish the podcast on, and this is going to go back to a question that you actually asked. You said one of your friends was asking you earlier on, so I'm going to put you on the spotlight here. But we always like to present a bold challenge question for our guests and really have them then give some kind of actionable insights for our listeners. So I'm asking you, what are 3 actionable insights that you can give listeners who are looking for their first full-time customer success role?
The first one, this is actually like step 0.5. If you're not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, you're already behind. So get on LinkedIn. And then the first step would be start leveraging LinkedIn. Connect with as many people as you can that are involved in customer success. Because then when you start connecting with those people, you'll start seeing more customer success content. You'll start seeing their content, and you'll be able to like and comment and learn from other people. And the more you like and comment on these posts, the more people will want to connect with you, the more connections you'll make. And then step 2, start reaching out to them. After you've connected with them, after you've engaged with them a little bit via their content, send them a quick message. Say, hey, I love learning from you. I'd love to learn more. I'm looking to break into customer success. Can I have maybe just 10, 15 minutes of your time to ask you a question or two? And you will be surprised, probably as much as I was, how many people will say yes to that. This was during 2020 when we had more time on our hands, but people are still willing to give some of their time to help people who are wanting to get into customer success. Something I say is there's no shortage of success in customer success. We're all here for each other. We're all here to build each other up. If you're listening to this and you're looking to break in, connect with me. I'm sure you guys will link my LinkedIn in the description, but feel free to connect with me. I'm happy to have a conversation. And then step 3, so step 1, leverage LinkedIn, connect with people. Step 2, reach out to people after you've connected with them and engage with them. And then step 3 would be to set up a notification for yourself on LinkedIn. So what you can do, you can go to jobs, and every time a customer success role is posted, either in your region or another region you're looking to get a job in, you can get an email notification every time something is posted. And that's how I got the job I'm in today, because I got a notification the second it was posted. I applied for it. I was one of the first to apply. Now I have the job. So set up those job notifications, because that'll get you, like, you'll be able to be one of the first to apply, which usually means you'll probably get an interview if you qualify. So do that. And if you need help, just look it up. There's tutorials. But again, I'm happy to help in any way. You can reach out to me. I'm happy to assist.
I love it, Jared. And a lot of that is just about the community again. It's about helping other people and about the wider picture.
Yeah, awesome. Fantastic. And thank you so much. With all the success you've had in your career, and thank you for joining us, and wish you much joy and success going forward, which I know you'll continue to do great things here. Sorry, Jason, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, Jared, do you want to just give a quick, you've already talked a bit about your blog and your podcast, but give a quick plug. Just tell our listeners again about where they can read your podcast and listen to your podcast and read your blog.
For sure. Yeah, it's all on my LinkedIn. You can look it up there, but my blog is customersuccesswhisperer.org. If you want to contribute to it, I have a couple people that have actually written blog posts for it. So if you have a blog post you'd like to share, let me know. And then my blog is Founders and Mentors Podcast. It's anywhere you get your podcasts, but you can find me on like Apple and Spotify. I'm even on YouTube. I post some interviews there. But I interview a lot of people in the customer success space. This Friday, actually, I'm going to be releasing an interview with a guy that's ran over 100-mile races. Wow. And he's a podcaster, author. He's a race director. So he's done a lot of entrepreneurial things in the realm. But that shows you like the diversity of people that I interview. Yeah, feel free to check it out. Let me know what you think.
Awesome. Jared, look, a huge thank you from us, man. This has been a really cool conversation.
Yep, fantastic.
Thank you. Great. Yeah, thank you. Likewise.
Take care.